Lube dents. It's something I'm going to bring up, and specifically with dies made by CH4D. Now, a lot of these specialized calibers and old obsolete calibers, I use these dies from this company. It's a good company. I use their products. They're probably the only place you can get custom made dies, on a regular basis or whatever. But anyway, there's an issue with their dies, and what I mean by lube dents is when you do a full length resizing, and see, hopefully you can see that. We'll get a close up. You see, you get that there. The problem with this, and we're going to use the 8mm Kropatschek as an example, is this base cartridge costs in excess of $2. It has to be machined, trimmed, formed, sized, and prepped. Okay, so there's a lot of labor to convert this. Okay. And then you get this lube dent when you go, and when I went to the final sizing, this is the worst one out of the ones I got. And a lot of people tell you no big deal. But what happens is, and most of the new brass, they got very slight ones, and that was the worst one. And people say, well, you get lube dents because you're putting too much lubricant on the case. Yes, that is true. But also, when you put the correct amount of lubricant, and after you fire these, you'll find that using the full length resizing dies, you get lube dents. And a lot of it too, a lot of these cases have an odd shape to them, like the 10.4 Italian is another one, that no matter what I do with these dies, I constantly get lube dents. And I'll show you the cause, and I'll explain why to you it's somewhat of a problem. Alright, here we have two full-length resizing dies. This is CH4D, and this is standard RCBS. And if you notice with the RCBS, that this spot right here, there's a little tiny hole, okay, in this die. Usually it's covered by the nut or inside there. But what this does is when you are running the case up the sizing die, as you can see here, this dent, this hole is positioned about right here. So when you run this up and you got lube and you're putting pressure on the body of the brass, there's an air pocket that this lets it escape. Okay? Yes, if you over lubricate your brass, even with this hole, you will get a lube dent. It could be anywhere in there. But with proper lubrication in that, these CH4Ds, I don't know why, they make decent dies. I don't know why he doesn't put those holes in there. And I continuously end up having trouble, like this is with the forming, of getting that lube dent. This one's bad. There's some that were a lot less, but this one I did. And it was because I put a little too much lube on. And I ended up, make sure we're seeing this, with that dent in there. Okay, so we'll take a look at some of the brass and what I'm talking about here. Alright, so here's some of the brass that I did on another run. And what happens is when you full length resize them, you get this dent, like right here. This is a dent. Now some people say no big deal when you fire it. As you see these two here, these cartridges have been reloaded about 3 times. So after the first firing, when I formed them, like the one you seen there, they looked fairly good. And I only had 1 out of the 20 that had a serious dent. But once you fire them, something about the brass and not having that air pocket, when I go to size them, you get a dent like this. Now when you fire the brass, here's an example of the dent being blown out. These little dark spots here and here. No big deal. But if I run this up a full length resizing die, it's going to pop that back in right there just like that, right? You know, and trying to go up dry, then you're going to get binding in the sizing die. I've tried everything and it's just problematic. The problem about it is 2 or 3 times with them dents firing, they'll crack right there. They'll split and start to crack open. So you only get about 3 or 4 reloadings with this. And it is a problem. Unless I figure out some other way. Well, there's no vent hole. So that's the drawback on it. So that means you may have to set up something where you neck size or hope that the neck dimension after it's been fired is good enough, or you have to come up with a solution. And like I said, when you're spending all that money to make this custom brass, to only get 3 reuses or 3 uses out of it is pretty disheartening, put it to you that way. Alright, that's just a little information on this. You know, hit the like button, stay tuned guys, and for all the real good details, low data and that, you know, memberships are available. Alright, thank you.